Welcome to the Hermitess Podcast with Andrea Cox, the only plant-based astrology podcast focusing on Hermetic principles, cellular detoxification, and mystery teachings. Andrea's interviews include her celebrity clients, NBA ball players, musical composers, detoxification specialists, and world-renowned healers just like Andrea. Andrea is a model-turned-celebrity detox specialist, intuitive healer, and holistic wellness and life coach. You will find only authentic people interviewed on this podcast. Real recognizes real. Andrea prides herself on only inviting those who are uniquely creative.
Oh my goodness. Martin to the rescue. Martin. We had a last minute cancellation, and for some reason, so it's 10:30 in England, right? You're in England or in the UK? England, right?
Yeah, I'm in London. I'm in the UK, and it's great to join you in the US, no matter what time of the morning it is or evening here. Fantastic.
I'm so grateful. I was like, who can I have on right now? And I reached out to my friend Kelly, and I reached out to you. I was like, Martin, I can have Martin. I am going to read a quick bio of Martin's.
You are too sweet. You're too kind. Thank you. Much appreciated.
Martin Dunkerton, CEO, founder of Play for Peace, an award-winning and Royal Television Society nominated BBC, UK, Spain, France, Channel 4, Film 4, movie director and producer, I had no idea, LA and London, with 6 Hollywood Bollywood movies in development, including Queen of Love, right here. No, I'm just kidding. Queen of Love. Martin is passionate about humanitarian projects and helping charities. And you're also passionate about health. And I just want to let everyone know, a little recap. Martin was not planned. This was unplanned. This was an impromptu interview. I had a gal that was going to come on to kind of teach coaches and leaders how to prepare themselves for the AI kind of taking over. And last minute, there's no internet in her area in Florida. And so I was like, you know what, Martin to the rescue. Martin, I have been your Facebook friend for years. I know for a while you started a health venture. How is that going? Or are you more focused on film right now?
I see health as very intrinsic to obviously my life, and partly because I think if I was a city boy until I was 16. Then my parents announced, the whole family, my stepmother and my father, who's also a filmmaker, he was in, I think, filming abroad, and suddenly my stepmother said, "Oh, we bought 25 acres of land near Wales." And I went, "Oh my God, you are kidding me!" And they intrinsically wanted to do it organically. We're talking about like city folk moving to the middle of nowhere, saying, we as a family are going to go organic. We're going to grow as much of our own food as we humanly can. And I was 16. I was a punk rocker. I literally, my girlfriend was in London. I was about to go to art college. So it was the last thing in the world I wanted to do. However, it turned out to be the biggest blessing known, because I think, like so many people in the city, they're so disconnected from the earth. I mean, full stop. My parents didn't know what they wanted to do. My dad's half French, so he said, "Well, there's tons of apples here in the countryside. Let's create alcoholic cider made from organic apples." Oh, wow. So even though we were Londoners, we were so loved. When my dad died, which was only a few years ago, at the funeral, the vicar said, "As you all know, Ivor was an atheist," because he was an atheist. And there was a hushed silence in the church. Like everyone was like, "Oh my God, he's an atheist, which he was. He claimed he was. And then he said, however, he was much loved because he loved the land. He loved the community. He loved wildlife. He loved everything that was organic and environmental. He loved the things that are substance of life. Therefore, he's going to be buried in the church. So, you take these things with you. And I felt when he died, his light kind of imbued inside me, actually, on some level, on some metaphysical level. So I think our connection with the earth, our connection with whatever our beliefs is, there is a certain magic to it. And Andrea, you are the epitome of inspiration when it comes, it doesn't matter where you are in the world. I'm in England right now. I've lived in LA for over a decade, but I've been in England for the last 2 years. And it's been brilliant, but also I feel always connected with you because you're such an inspiration to those all around the world who are thinking, maybe there's a different way, maybe going organic, maybe going green, maybe going vegan, or, a first step into vegetarianism, just trying it for the first time. They're inspired by your wisdom and your clarity and your real hand holding for anyone, anywhere to go on this path. I think it's beautiful. So thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Martin. I'm almost half a century young, and I'm on day 7 of only water and herbal tea. This is from my friend Jennifer, her tea she sent me. And I've done this once a year where I fast for until I feel like I'm ready to eat again. But I have not went to the grocery store in almost 2 months because my herbs, my vegetables at this time of year, even though I'm in the Sonora Desert, which is hot, I have tomatoes, I have kale, I have herbs. The only thing I think I picked up lemons and avocado, and that's it. But, I really do walk my talk. I want to ask you, how did you get into film, producing film?
Great question. Well, so I was a complete academic failure. But then I got one good teacher, and all you need is one person like yourself, one person in your life who says, you can do it. So now I'm 16 years old in the countryside, and I have this brilliant art teacher called Peter Horrocks. I actually go and see him now, even though it's all these decades later. I go and see him virtually every 2 years, and I always say the same thing. Thank you for seeing me, for seeing my light, for inspiring me, for shining a torch on my talent. So I was his first student to the Royal College of Art to study film, first student ever to get in. That's a very tough place to get into. I did my master's. I originally did my degree, and I tried doing like promos. I wanted to be a photojournalist originally, but when I made a short film. So nowadays, of course, you can make a film with, in your palm of your hand. It's actually cinema quality, 4K. Cinema used to be 2K in the US up until about 6 years ago. So in the palm of your hand, you actually have the ability to make anything. In those days, I was shooting on Super 8. So I shot my first Super 8 film, and I showed it, and I didn't know whether I wanted to do film. I just had this brilliant story in my mind. I made it as best I could. I used dramatic music, and I showed it to my art teacher originally when I was now 20. This is when I wanted to be a photojournalist. And I used to take millions of photographs all over the place. And she saw the film in this darkened room, and I'll never forget, she had a tear come down her cheek. I thought, wow, I could never get that result from photographs alone, let alone photojournalism. Film. Now I'm going to pursue that. So I did a degree. Then I did a lot of pop promos, a lot of music things, and tried to get into the industry. It was virtually impossible in those days. So I got into doing masters in film, and that literally I did my first drama that got sold. So there's my first, and then I got my first job doing a jazz documentary for Channel 4. So now I'm on national TV for the first time in my life, and that's what kickstarted me. But I really, in my heart, I said to myself, I went on to produce for the BBC, direct for the BBC. It's fantastic. But you have a real choice in life sometimes. And I think, Andrea, you could really relate to this. You can say, I could join that institution, that corporation, and have a good life. I would have a job. It would be a steady income. Or I'd go it alone in some capacity, bring people with me, become a leader, and actually create something from nothing, ideas that come from, one hopes, a divine source, and actually create something of real value for humanity. So that's what I decided to do very early on in my career. And I've never regretted it, because anytime I've won an award or done anything that's really powerful, it's been because it came through some divine, first of all, it's a divine sense and feeling and connection. And you use that to actually create, to become the true artist, is to actually imbue that divine element of yourself as an artist. And then in film, you've got to encourage others to join you, to fund you. That's when you put your producer hat on. And so, yeah, that's been my, I went to India when I was 10. Wow. So I created a bridge between Hollywood and Bollywood. And now I've just got a big music project for war children, completely funded by being in London. And we're just waiting on the artist. And if she says yes, she's an American artist. If she says yes, we'll help millions of war children, literally millions. So there's lots of things you do on faith.
You said war children, children of war?
Yeah, like war children charities. So helping charities. You think, what on earth can you do in, helping humanity, helping all these crazy wars going on? And children, if you put Israeli kids in, Gazan kids, Russian kids, Ukrainian kids all into one room, they'd all be playing together. They wouldn't know. It's the crazy adults that have got it all muddled up. So, who are in conflict. But kids, they don't. And so they're the innocent ones. I said to myself, how can, I be of any service to humanity? And the idea for Play for Peace popped in my head. And it was an actor strike, the Hollywood actor strike at the time. So I couldn't do anything for 4 months. So I've just let this idea permeate and allow it to grow. And like any idea, I got this in the shower when I was in Los Angeles, literally, boom, that idea came in. And then it was up to me to trust the idea, trust the divine spark that's been initiated, and allow it to grow. We still haven't come to full completion. The artist still has to say yes, but I have got financing. I have got an incredible team here in London. And, we just do what we can, even whether I said to myself, look, even if we help a dozen kids, we don't know, from some charity like Save the Children, whoever it is, the patron is Princess Anne. They do good work. They're a great charity. They're helping kids all around the world. We as a team, we'll never know who we're helping, but we know we will have helped and done a little bit. So I think there's a part of me that's a filmmaker, but a part of me that is definitely a humanitarian. You are a humanitarian, not just because you love cooking, but because you are a vegan chef. You have a massive humanitarian aspect to who you are, Andrea, and what you want to, the big why you do what you do. It's beyond, you work probably tireless hours. You probably do crazy amount of time and effort and work that most people would never do. And you do it because you have this intrinsic love and passion for creating these healthy plates for people. And they just adore what you produce, adore what you create. And then when they taste it and when they make it at home, they know that they can do it too. And then you have totally helped humanity and succeeded in your life's mission. And whether you're a chef, vegan chef, and a humanitarian, or whether you're a filmmaker, passionate director, whatever we do, we're doing it because we have this divine belief that we're here for some purpose. And I think that's a spark. You also give permission for anyone around the world to see what you do, or to see what I do, or what someone else does, whatever it is. We know we've got the capacity for being brilliant and being some creative force for humanity in some beautiful way. And if you don't know what it is, I think you just say, God, show me.
What you said about one person believing in you, you had a teacher that believed in you. That is very true and very powerful. And what would you say, because I want our audience to know, and this definitely is an odd, it's God, the fact that the woman we were supposed to have on canceled at the last minute. What would you say to people that just don't believe in themselves? Maybe they grew up, not with supportive parents and not with, I'll be honest with you, I love my family, love my mom, love my sisters, but I didn't have anyone telling me you can do this. But I had a teacher in the 3rd grade that saw my written work and called my mom in for a conference and told her how beautiful my written work is. And she said, she can't spell, but she writes from the heart. And later I found out that Einstein couldn't spell, and that some of the most brilliant creators were high school dropouts. They couldn't spell, they couldn't read, they were dyslexic, etc. And so when you say that about a teacher, and then of course my mom has always supported me just with encouraging words, but I really didn't have anyone who quite understood what I was doing. And I remember working for an oil and gasoline company when I was in my 20s, and I was flying on private jets, and I had just gotten a brand new, $70,000 car as a gift from signing on with this oil and gasoline company. And we used to supply the gasoline for like the Indy 500 and the race cars. So I was being exposed to all these fumes. And I remember wanting to learn about living foods because I was getting sick in my 20s. And I remember having my mom come over, and I had just made lunch for myself, and she surprised me with a visit. She lived a few blocks away, and she could not believe how beautiful what I was about to eat. She goes, "Is that edible with the flowers and the sprouts?" I'm like, "Yeah, it is." That was another encouraging moment. That's when I got the idea to write my first book, because my food was so pretty. And so when you mention the teacher, and I, like you with my writing, had a teacher that encouraged me, and then my mom later that encouraged me, people really only need one person, don't they? So what would you say to someone who maybe is in their 20s right now and they want to be a film producer like you, or they want to write and they want to produce, and they just are at rock bottom? They don't have the money to pay the rent. They're not getting encouraging words. What would you say to someone like that?
It's funny because I just got a call actually from Australia. And someone said, "Oh, my son, he wants some help. He's in a very dark place. He's at a crossroads. His life is kind of, bit misshapen." And exactly that question. So I'll go back to when I was in the crossroads in London. And I literally prayed to God. I said, "God, now's the time to show up. Like now was the moment." And then my friend, in that moment, one of my buddies came up to me and said, "Hey, Martin, have you ever read this book called Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill?" And I said, "Oh no, I can't bear those books, those motivational type of books." And he said, No. This one was written in 1937. And he said, whenever he was in this position, that crossroads, the dark place, he said, I always read a chapter from that book. So I thought, okay. And he gave me this book, Think and Grow Rich. And I read, oh my God, these chapters: desire, faith, imagination, persistence, power of the mastermind, mystery of sex transmutation, the subconscious mind, organized planning, the brain, the sixth sense. I thought, what is the sixth sense doing in a book about money? And this book was written in 1937. So Napoleon Hill, the author, said that when you get your idea, when you're reading the words in the book, you're reading the chapters, that you'll get the $1 million idea. And when you do, just turn a glass over and mark that moment in time as you're reading the book, because those few seconds will mark the turning point for the rest of your life. Now, he has helped every multimillionaire, every CEO in America, in the world, most of them have read Think and Grow Rich. They don't tell you that, but they did. And I made a film. I decided, well, if it's going to work, it'll work on me. I've got my BBC skills. I was at a particular crossroads, and I thought, wow, I split up my girlfriend. It was just like this crazy moment in my life, dark moment. And I said, I will point the camera at me and see if this book is true. So I made the film using my skills with my camera knowledge, and and everyone thought I was being filmed. And I went on a journey all around the world interviewing multimillionaires to see if it was true. So the film, ultimately, we had some crazy things happen en route. I did go around the world. I did get all the funding. It was a crazy idea.
Multimillionaires? You interviewed multimillionaires around the world. Did I hear that right?
One billionaire, a really nice guy called Mark Victor Hansen, co-author of Chicken Soup for the Soul. So I didn't know him. I just phoned him from London. I said, would you like to invest in my film? And that was another lesson. He said, no. If you're asking for money, no. So then I phoned about 3 months later and I said, Mark, I'd love you to be in the film. He said, oh, that's great. That's great. And so I raised the money from the UK for a couple of people. And then I basically went to America. And then Mark not just did the interview, he came in with his business partner and invested in the film. And then he got his inner circle to invest. And that was at Anaheim. And suddenly I'm in front of about hundreds of people. And then ultimately, I showed the film on a big screen to a distributor who just did a movie called The Secret with Rhonda Byrne. I don't know if you know that film, The Secret.
I just have Bob Proctor's son on, Brian Proctor.
Well, I spoke with Brian. So I showed the film, the director's cut of this movie, to the Napoleon Hill Foundation. I was very frightened and like, oh my God. I flew in to show it to the foundation. They loved it so much. They said, okay, we want you to come to the Kuala Lumpur, to Malaysia, to show the film with the head of tourism is going to open your movie to 2 giant screens to 1,000 people. And you're going to speak on stage with Bob Proctor and others. And I'd never given a speech before in my life. And I have to give a speech in front of the King of Malaysia and Bob Proctor, who was before me. And I was like, oh my God. But, I rose to the occasion. After that, we got this brilliant guy, the head of Beyond Words. And I hired a whole cinema for him because we wanted US distribution. He watched the movie, and at 3/4 of the way the movie, again, he had a tear come down his cheek. And he said, when I knew I had a tear come out emotionally, I just knew I had to take the film on. So we got distribution in the US, and that was my entry point into it coming back to LA. It's like a miracle. And we got distribution. We co-ventured in republishing Think and Grow Rich as a book with Beyond Words, which is available right now. It's still available. It's over a decade ago, but the film's still there. People have to watch it on DVD, I'm afraid, until we actually put it online, which we will at some point. When the rights emerge for that, we will put it online. But right now you can get it on DVD. But yeah, that film changed my life. The book changed my life. The principles changed my life.
What did all of those people have in common? And then I want, and I'm going to say, we should be streaming this live right now on my YouTube channel. I don't know if Mushy's on here still, but we should be streaming this live because this is such good content. What did all of those people that you interviewed that were millionaires, billionaires, what did you see a common theme with them at all?
Yeah, they'd all read Think and Grow Rich.
Really?
Huh. So they don't shout to the world that they have, but they know that Napoleon Hill in the 30s. And what I didn't know is that Napoleon Hill's wife Rosa helped him write The Mystery of Sex Transmutation and the Sixth Sense chapters particularly, and that she made sure those chapters were in the Think and Grow Rich book. They're modern day masters, tantra masters like Mantak Chia. So Mantak Chia is one of the great modern day masters who teaches you to utilize that sexual energy and to allow it to permeate every single cell of your body.
Oh, so
instead of it just being.
I actually thought you were talking about how they have to go through, or many men in many parts of the world go through that part when they're younger, or, where they're clipped in things, and how many men are speaking out now about how that should not be done, and how that, so that's actually what I thought it meant. I mean, that tells you how clueless I am. I've never read the book. So
it's the most, the book starts off with desire.
Okay.
And the second chapter is faith. So when we go into the sixth sense, which kind of sort of permeates the whole book, he talks about a metaphysical level of who we are as human beings. And obviously, Andrea, this is something that you touch upon greatly. So actually, I recall you saying you've been celibate for periods of time. So, but you still have enormous amounts of sexual energy, as we all do as human beings. So what you've chosen to do is to find your creative outlet, which is cooking. And then because you've basically drawn up your sexual energy, it sings from every cell of your being. Every cell
of 9 years for me. I went 8 years when I was in my 20s, when I was a model. I went 8 years of celibacy from the time I left an 11-year relationship, from 28 until around 35. And now it's been since 2017. So it's been about 9 years. So, and I really feel, cooking is really not really my passion right now. It's more spirituality and ascension through nature and animals and living foods. But I really do feel that when we exchange intimacy with others, it's very beautiful, but it's not being honored in that way in the world today. And what people don't understand, Martin, and you know about this because you're so into health, is you not only get the karma, you get the parasites from the person, which are causing. Parasites lead to every disease in the body. You get the mood swings of the person. Everything, when you're sleeping with someone, you literally take on half of their emotional body, their physical ailments, their parasites. So for me, it's more than even spiritual at this point. It's a health thing. I'm okay, I'm going to need a full throttle paperwork on you before I even exchange saliva with you. That's just where I've become. So I do feel, I know you're talking about Tantra and things like that. I do feel like, and I guess this is another question for you, and I didn't mean to cut you off. Do you feel that the spiritual community and Tantra and all that is being a little misused at this point? I see a lot of men, of course not you, but I see a lot of men on my Instagram feed, and I'm usually unfollow, using this, I'm a sexual healer, and they've got this woman standing in front of them, and they're teaching them how to drum up that, I feel like it's being a little misused. Just my own opinion. Maybe I'm too conservative in my thinking, but what do you feel about that? Do you feel that spirituality is kind of a mask for many out there to, get laid, or do you feel like it's in balance?
I think the idea is to become in balance, to become that balance, to become as whole as we can, to balance our masculine and feminine, for sure. And none of us are perfect. We're all on a journey, otherwise we wouldn't even be incarnated on earth. So we're all going through our shadows, we're all going through and discovering our light, we're all going through to really reveal what magnificent presents, gifts there are for us as human beings to live on planet earth. I'd say one of the biggest ones is what you said, our connection to nature, the natural world. And that's really one of the keys, because as we know, it's alive. Napoleon Hill knew it was alive. Napoleon Hill knew there was a spirit to every animal, every plant, our whole being. We are spiritual beings. We are not just human. As you know, I believe you see metaphysically as well. So Napoleon Hill, in his last chapter of his last book, mentions the metaphysical things he never mentioned in his life. So I know that because I read his last book as well when he was in his 70s, that revealed the depth and level of his metaphysical understanding, which is really truly who we truly are as spiritual beings. So men, I mean, of course, there's going to be in whatever, whether you're a Catholic, whether you're a Protestant, whether you're Hindu, whether you're a Tantra teacher, a spiritual teacher, a religious teacher, there's always going to be those. You see the light of, say, Pope Leo right now. He seems so powerfully genuine and a beautiful soul. I don't believe in all the Catholic policies, of course, but very, very, very strikingly powerful, unique, and true person in my eyes. And of course, there's many, many other cardinals who have done wrong things and bad things because of the suppression of the church and because of the suppression of spirituality. Whereas Napoleon Hill knew that in the transmutation, but there are tricks to that. There are tricks to, transmuting your sexual energy that one of the most powerful things is to find your creative niche that can also make your fortune. So Napoleon Hill knew that if you touched on your creative power and discovered that seed that was going to germinate into your creativity, which might be your entrepreneurship, your business, or your passion for making money in the world, that if you could do that and transmute and challenge and channel your energies sexually into your spiritual path of life, that's a very powerful thing. So yeah, he knew that most men who've been successful, some of whom dispersed their energy, did crazy things, and they unfortunately usually trip up and don't become successful. Whereas those who really truly harness their energy may make some mistakes along the way, but if they focus onto something really, really empowering that could be divinely given, and also utilize the sixth sense, utilize organized planning, and also have a lot of faith, because they're going to be tested. Whatever your path you're on, if you're on a spiritual path, goodness, Andrea, I mean, you've had your legal battles, and you've utilized your sexual transmutation to go through into all your creativity and all your legal woes, and you've overcome them through giant faith, great desire to do the best you can, and you shared all this completely brilliantly and transparently with the world. So here's to your incredible innate bravery. And it does require, it requires millions and millions of Andreas in the world, whether we're men or women, to see your image of what beautiful success you're creating, and how do we apply that in our own way. So when we have our dark night of soul, yes, Think and Grow Rich can be that really incredible roadmap for you.
I just have a few more questions for you, because I woke you or I took away your evening. I'm like, hey, Martin, I know it's 10:30 there, but will you come on? You feel like a Taurus are you a Taurus or an Aries?
I'm Taurus.
Yeah. You're so earthy. I knew it. I love Tauruses. It's funny. I reached out to you and my friend Kelly when this young lady canceled. You're both Tauruses. I'm like, okay, I need a Taurus. I knew you were a Taurus. So you're Earth. So you just come in with this groundedness. My question is this. I've noticed throughout my life, do you know if you're a manifesting generator or generator? Do you know about that or no? You're not into that?
Yeah, the gene keys, yes.
Do you know what you are in the gene keys?
I don't think I've ever really done it.
Okay.
I don't know whether I'm a generator or a projector, but I know the gene keys exist, and I know they're very helpful to a lot of people.
What I was going to ask you is, I've noticed in my life, when being a manifesting generator, I remember watching the Brady Bunch when I was this big, and I was in love with, I guess, Peter Brady. And I said, I am going to meet him one day. And he became a client later. And then with when I used to listen to Burt Bacharach's music, and then him with another gentleman that was God rest his soul, that were putting on a play at the Old Globe Theater in Balboa Park, they became clients. I made their food for 6 months. And so I noticed the power of manifestation, but I also noticed how along my journey, I needed to, in order to continue those manifestations, learn how to protect my energy from people who are like, oh, wow, she's a great manifester. Let's mess that up. I want some of that. I want what she's had. Have you ever had any incidents in your life where there's been an issue or a problem and you've had to maybe set some healthy boundaries that before that happened, you really weren't setting boundaries and were just more free loving with your energy? Because being a Taurus, you're automatically grounded. You've got such a good sense of healthy boundaries. I mean, Taurus rule the bank. They're like, in my opinion, they're the strongest zodiac sign there is. Have you ever had to really put your foot down for your health, or to protect what you've created, or your work, or anything like that? I'm just curious of how you overcame. Was there ever a struggle?
Well, I think, there's a different dimension. So firstly, there's the kind of very human dimension, but then there's the truth of who we are, which is spiritual human beings. I wasn't born with a psychic gift. I think you were, possibly. I don't know. But I wanted to find out more. So I actually did a lot of meditation. I did and I opened myself up, and I actually began to see auras around people and around plants, trees. I could see the aura. A very simple way to be able to open yourself up to that metaphysically, to really simple, is that when you look into a candle flame, you kind of look through it, and suddenly you'll notice the aura around a candle. You suddenly see the aura around the candle, not just the flame itself. And it's the same. You can train yourself as well as humans, as any man or woman can train yourself to actually, when you really focus, you're in a still place and you start doing meditation, you'll start, potentially either hearing or seeing. So when I got one of the best ideas for helping humanity, it was when I was in the shower. Water is a very good conduit of teachings, of messages. So I got a divine message, which was to follow this charitable path, and I'm just seeing where it's going, and it's amazing. It's brought the money, it's brought in the potential of a big artist, and the potential for doing a lot of good in humanity, charity, which is fabulous. So also in that process, especially as a man, even as a Taurian, you become sensitive. And in that sensitivity, you can sense metaphysically more about what's going on. So I felt actually I was being attacked at some point, like literally psychic, kind of like I could see dark energy. I'd close my eyes, I'd open my eyes, and I'd see this dark energy moving all around me. Like I knew. So I had to find out the tools for protection. You know what they are, because because you're way more advanced than I am as a sort of more earthy Taurian. But I think it's healthy to develop your psychic sense, not just for your business, not just for your manifestation, which is what Napoleon Hill had for Think and Grow Rich. But then you've got to also come to someone like yourself and find out the metaphysical tools for protection. I found for myself simple mantra, simple om, like just that simple, or like a particular crystal bowl, that gets rid of, let alone sage and other things. Just very simple things, but those wonderful clarity of those sounds dispel negative energy right around you. So I do that before I go to sleep. I always do that, and just so I clean the energy prior to going to sleep, so I wake up really, really supersonically fresh, and that's nice. That's very important. So yeah, I do. Of course, we come up with certain tests, I would say, of certain individuals. You had that one with that guy, that your ex-boyfriend, who tried to copy your work. You shared a lot about that. You also shared your steps to overcome it on a physical level, but I guarantee you also had a spiritual level and spiritual practices that people can learn anywhere around the world from you, Andrea, that would help them protect them whilst they're going through their journey and their ascension to create wealth, to create money, to manifest in their lives. they can use your beautiful, brilliant tools for protection. So, you're a guiding light, you're a teacher, you're an inspiration, not just for food, but for the metaphysical side as well. And I really highly recommend we find our person like Andrea in the world who can help guide you to help teach you the protections you can do, which are sometimes very simple, but very necessary as you progress. There are a lot of forces in the world who don't want to see you do good. They want to stop. They might be jealous, as they were with you, Andrea, but you knew the spiritual practice and what you had to do on a physical level, and those spiritual practices help you. They guide you to overcome that hurdle. You learn so much, you gain so much strength. The reason Taurians can be, if we're knocked off balance, is because of these potential negative forces. And we are on the spiritual path always going to be tested. But if you want to do good in the world, if you want to make money in the world, if you want to create an impact for humanity, if you want to follow your gifts, you just see them as lessons, and find the tools from brilliant teachers like yourself.
What is one health? We'd like to ask about health, sweet Maverick. We'd like to ask about health. What is one thing you do throughout the day? And I also, just sitting here with you, I feel like you have like water either as your moon or rising, because if you guys noticed during this interview, first of all, this was last minute. He probably should be in bed, so we're going to let him go soon. But he constantly puts the focus back on me instead of on you, because you're so selfless. You're so about other people. And I see that in you. So you probably have like Cancer or Pisces as your moon or rising, because you are just such a selfless, like you constantly want good for others. I can see that in you. So I'm sure our listeners and the people that are going to view this can see this as well. What is one healthy thing you do every day? Do you take a walk? Do you drink lemon water? Is there anything? Do you have a routine you do? What is one healthy thing you do a day?
Am I allowed to say two things?
Yeah, you can say 5 things.
So I start the day. I learned, only literally 2 years ago, I learned that having a cold shower, a really cold shower in the morning, that helps activate your stem cells.
Oh, wow.
So the cold shower helps activate all your stem cells. So the lines, I should have lines here. I don't really have, that many lines. And I put that down to a few things. I also hugged an big oak tree today.
Nice.
So I was working away. I was doing calls. I've got a very important finance meeting tomorrow morning in London with someone who managed Share. He, big music guy and finance, and it's a big old meeting. So the best thing to do is, for me, is to make sure that I connect with nature, because we're in a Wi-Fi world, as you know, and we're in concrete, as we know, and to get out of that back into the harmony, the frequency, and as we know, everything's frequency and vibration. The frequency and vibration of nature is the most healing thing. That's the most healing connection. Andrea, you bring healing and connection through your food that's live. It's not out of can. It's not frozen. It's not in a box. It's like as close to the earth as you can be. And there's no pesticides. There's no horrible fertilizers and nitrate residues and all that stuff. It's live living food. So number one, follow Andrea and eat your live living food. Number two, I suggest cold showers are really good. Or cold plunges every now and again. And I do breathing exercises. So I do the...
Oh, nice.
That's the Kundalini breath of fire. So I do that. I actually do that before I have my cold shower. And then I go into the cold shower. And that basically cleans my energy. So whatever thoughts or negativity or anything that's around me cleans for the day. And then at the end of the day, I always try and make sure I hug a tree. Today I was in a Japanese beautiful garden with a waterfall, and it's a royal park. It's all free. It's a forest. There's flowers, and I just connect. I take the Wi-Fi off the phone, off the hook, connect with nature, get into the frequency of the earth, of the planet, of the true mother, of the living, breathing soil. You're connecting to the trees. And I'd suggest, if you're doing the big finance meetings or small meetings, however, where you are on the path of creating your abundance, your reason why you're here on earth, your business, whatever it is, your path of entrepreneurship, hug a tree, eat clean, organic food. Listen to Andrea.
Everything go better.
We'll all have happier, better lives for sure.
Yeah, and I think the better we feel, the better we're able to handle things. I have actually went through a period where I wasn't feeling well, and I didn't like the person I became. So now, whenever I don't feel well or I don't feel my best, I just drop the fork for a few days. And I love what you said about cold showers. I heard women don't have to have it as cold as men because of something about having so much estrogen or something. But Martin, we are just so grateful. Is there a link or anything you want to mention here? And if not, if you think about something you want us to promote for you later, we will put it in the description box. Is there anything you'd like to promote or anything?
martinmovies.com.
martinmovies.com. I think we have a couple movie producers that watch us. So
Yay.
Martin, big hug. I am so grateful.
Big
Martin
hug.
Leave it to the tourists to save the day all the time. They're always saving the day. We love you so much. Thank you.
Love you. We're all mirrors of you, and we bless you. Thank you for your brilliance.
We love you.
Allowing me to shine for a few minutes. Bless you. Thank you, Andrea. Greetings from London.
Thanks so much for listening. If you'd like to check out Andrea Cox's most recent 4th book, Eat Right for Your Zodiac, it's the first book to ever combine astrology with plant-based eating. Andrea's Akashic record readings, holistic wellness coaching, and intuitive life coaching services are sought out by both celebrities and ordinary, everyday people like Andrea herself. If you'd like to connect with her, you can find her at AndreaCox.com, on YouTube at both Andrea Cox TV and The Detox Intuitive, on Facebook at Andrea Lee Cox, and on Instagram at Raw Chef Andrea.